Hello, and welcome to the Almost Anything Goes podcast, where we deep dive into the most compelling topics of our time. I'm Marseille, your host for today's episode, and thank you for joining us. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and follow us on social media to stay updated on our latest episode. Today, we have an incredibly taboo and avoided topic ahead of us. Massachusetts is weighing two possible bills that would decriminalize sex work. With me today are Miranda.
Hello, everybody.
And we have Orvin.
Woohoo! I'm here. I'm always here. I'm here even when you don't want me here.
And then last but not least, never the least, is Stacy.
Hey guys!
The topic of sex work has been long controversial and often misunderstood. Recently, Massachusetts lawmakers have been considering two bills to decriminalize prostitution. One bill repeals criminal penalties that apply to sex workers, but leaves pimps and buyers to be arrested and prosecuted. And the second bill seeks to entirely legalize sex trade. Advocates argue that this approach can protect sex workers, can provide them with better access to health and social services, and reduce the stigma associated with their work. On the other hand, critics worry about the potential for increased exploitation and trafficking. To unpack these perspectives, we have our co-hosts with us. This is a lot to talk about. And as the rebellious advocate, I can definitely say I have a lot of opinions on this topic. But before I share anything, I would love to hear some beginning thoughts regarding this from my co-hosts. Miranda, do you think either of these bills will make a significant impact on the state of Massachusetts?
That is a very interesting question because the jury really is out. And during the research, I saw that in Maine, that's one of the first states that had this type of bill. And one group is saying, oh yeah, we got 40% of the people off of the streets, but then it came back and said, we think that is inaccurate. So they really don't have a true measure, or at least I didn't see where there's a true measure. Is this really successful or not? And so if I'm thinking about Massachusetts and if this is going to work, I do think that it could provide opportunities to make sure that people who are in the sex work industry aren't per se criminalized. But in terms of, will this really take care of the problem? I will have more questions because I'm like, does it really take care of the problem? Is this more like a symptomatic Band-Aid that we're trying to cover up is where I'm thinking. So I don't know if this is like a end all be all for Massachusetts.
I love that analogy of the Band-Aid. Is it just like a cover up? That is a very, very interesting way to look at it. Okay. Orvin, God's favorite. What impacts or outcomes, positive and or negative, do you think will come out of these bills being passed?
Well, I'm all for the pimps. I'm down for the pimps. Whatever happens. So no, I know we can't. I know every topic can't be a laughing topic, but I just have to be me. No, really, truly.
Yeah.
I don't discriminate when it comes to people in their line of work. Whatever you do, that's between you and whoever you believe in, what you need to do in life. I think there will be negative and positive outcomes according to the bill. I think it helps in the fact that the people that want to get their record swiped clean, expunged, or whatever, I think it's really good for those who have had, for whatever reason, had to prostitute, sex workers, whatever they had to do in life to get themselves better. However, I'll be like, you still need to be punished for your crimes. This is my opinion. You know what I'm saying? You did what you did. There's consequences to all our actions. But if you served your time, if you did whatever, I do believe that society should be able to help you rehabilitate yourself. And if that part of the bill is needed for people to get a better life, a better start, we got to also do it in other areas of crime. Just don't do it for just the sex workers' crimes. Other crimes that weren't murder or lesser crimes. Wipe these things from these people's records so they can get on with their life. They actually did. Some people out there actually did what it takes to get a better life. The positive thing is they'll be able to focus on the bigger things, the sex traffickers, the pimps, the Johns, the people that's doing the real big part of the crimes, not the sex workers that are trying to make a better life for themselves, but the people that are out here pimping them. I'm really not on the side of the pimps. It was a joke. The people that are controlling them with their mental state, they can actually focus on those crimes more if they let go of the smaller petty things, or what they might call a misdemeanor in the future of a woman or man sex working. So there's positives and negatives and pros and cons to everything. We'll see where it goes.
I got a church finger. That's what we just gonna call it. I got a church finger.
Yes, church finger.
I struggle with the fact that people can do porn and it's legal. I struggle with that. And you can do porn, but if you're selling your body, you're getting money for porn. You get money for porn. Like, the people get money. They getting paid. Matter of fact, some of them are becoming says, now listen, I think y'all may need to, I'm just saying, maybe I'm being a little bit uppity, but you get paid for porn, but yet this person, and I'm going to say this, we didn't categorize. Sex work is sex work. Listen, or it can be so many different aspects, and we are not talking about trafficking people.
Right.
We are not down for trafficking. However, there are people who getting paid for porn. I guess if I take out the morality clause, why people can't get paid for having sex? I'm not saying I agree with your choice, but I think for some people it could be a choice.
Okay. I'm gonna chime in on that. Let me pull up my church. Both of mine say no. Yes, but I'm gonna have to stick to the bill that Massachusetts was having an issue with. The articles I read. Let's say that I didn't go do the research. I'm not a senator at the moment, but I'm running for president in 2020. But no, to help the people that are sex working, I agree. And look. The problem with making things legal, and his was one of the negative sides, making this partially legal, is that now we can charge taxes for it. Now we can put stipulations, and now you making work out of it instead of these people were doing this to try to make a living. These people were doing this because they had no other means. I'm not saying that's everybody's case. I'm just saying for those that were, now you didn't put your hand in it. It's the same. Now weed is legal, and people that went to jail for 10 years for selling weed by minimal amounts, great amounts, whatever amounts, and now it's legal. But did you go back and look at all of their records and wipe their records clean for what they did? And now the dispensaries, look, some people still like that dealer, that drug dealer that's dealing the weed, because he charging much less than you going to a dispensary. And if you make sex work legal, now you telling me the person that was charging, God forgive me for this, because but I'm being real. The person that was charging 40 to 100 for this evening now can charge me 300 to 500 for this evening because she got to pay taxes, or he got to pay taxes. That's horrible to me. So I get it, but that's a positive and negative. You mess it up for the
United States way.
I didn't even think of that. Oh my God.
I didn't think of that either.
That's a good
capitalism.
Wow.
That's the same thing. That's why it's legal. Okay, I've been to Las Vegas many times. I've been to Las Vegas at least 3 to 4 times. I've seen people working out of the Denny's. This was one of their locations. These ladies and men that work in these casinos and do all this thing, they charge a lot for the evening for you to participate if you want this from the client of theirs. if you put it's legal there. So if you make it legal, now you telling me, oh, we gotta raise the minimum wage. I just don't agree. That's a negative to me. That's the only thing I just want to put that in the atmosphere. So yes, but I believe people should get paid for what the services that they provide legally. That's all I'm gonna leave it there. Whether I agree with the issue or not,
Mhm.
people should get paid their just dues for what they provide legally. There we are. Okay, I'm clear. I'm done.
They
Moving
provide
on.
legally.
I love that. I want to make sure before I move on to the next topic, Miss Shenanigans Inc., do you want to add on to that?
I do. I struggle with this topic so much. I went back to the two bills, right? Okay. I zeroed in on just legalizing it all. I'm not voting for that. I'm just trying to decipher using the bill. The study showed that it was an increase in more trafficking and just more crime all around this particular service, let's say. So I asked myself, what problems does the bill solve, basically? There are pros to it. If they regulate it, they can get these individuals off the street, give them some type of, I don't know, foundation, I guess. They have access to more medical services. They may have more access to more protection services with legalizing it. And again, to Miranda's point, we're not talking about the 14-year-old girl that has no choice. These are grown adults that, for some reason, they want to select this opportunity to be a service or sex worker. Is it right to take that right away from them to do that? So I go back and forth with it. I see the pros. I do see definitely the cons. One of the pros was that, hey, God's favorite, somebody could turn this service into a retirement plan. Hey, this is my job. I pay taxes. I pay into income security. I should reap the benefits of a retirement plan once they might not have had that option before. But again, not fun and jokes. This is just someone who said, "This is what I want to do with my life." Who are we to judge? Who are we to step in? But I think the regulation piece brings a little bit of more safety and safety to others and more medical safety. It does cause more tax dollars, and it does alleviate the justice system a little bit. They can focus on those individuals that are being trafficked, those missing individuals that are kidnapped and forced into this. So there are pros, there are cons to it. They have benefits now.
Those are all fantastic points. And something that I definitely want to say is that there are two different bills. One bill will basically be helping prostitutes, not helping the pimp or the person that is pushing them to that. And that's, I think, where my mind is. I'm more interested in that protection of the worker versus the person who is forcing someone or has I don't know how to describe that. How would you describe that?
Okay, we need to help the women. But perhaps we, or whomever is selling the sex, but perhaps we also need to be looking at having rehab, or having, perhaps some people are sex addicted, some of the people who are paying for these services, pimps who are doing this. Where is the thought process for them? They didn't just do this overnight. I don't think anybody just woke up and said, listen, I want to be a pimp. Listen, I want to pay for it. Listen. I don't think that they just woke up and just was like, yes, this is the life that I choose to lead. And what services do we offer for them? So again, for me, it's a band-aid. It just is such a band-aid where there's such larger issues and topics that the world still needs to be covering. And we didn't even talk about, yes, it's just a bigger issue.
It's so complex
It is extremely complex.
and difficult to land on a side. However, if you look at studies, the studies indicate that it does not solve
Right.
what we're thinking, that, oh, these two bills and helping it doesn't solve that. And that kind of what I took a look at was, what is the bill or both bills? What are they trying to solve? And does that occur? And
Mhm.
studies said no, increase in crime rate,
Yeah.
increase in trafficking.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Thinking more on what can be done on the other end to help those people get out of that. And I also think too, I've known a lot of people throughout my life, but people who truly do just enjoy having sex. That's their fun time. They love it and they're like, "Okay, I can make money off of this.
Mhm.
Why not do that?" And I think there's such a blurry line between what is safe, like what someone actually wants to do, and what is someone being forced to do because they need the money to do it. This is really interesting, really hard.
Oh, and the other part we forgot about was that it does take, if you legalize it, or it does take the stigma off. So
Mhm.
there's a little bit more openness to it.
We can definitely talk more a little later about what we can do in terms of helping them. But the next thing I have, the question that I have, because we know that social media is really big and it's taking over a lot of people's lives. How do you believe technology and social media have changed the landscape of sex work? Things like OnlyFans and Feet Finder and all of these other weird, I mean, if you like it, but not for me, all of these other different things to go down. And I am thinking of the scenario where, yeah, I was asked if I was doing one of those things. And I was just like, no, that's not for me. That's not me. But it is for some people. So, how is technology and social media changing all of that?
Can I jump in there real quick? Because I got to get this joke out my sister before I start crying. I was like, we about to invent one called RottenToes.com for people that got bad feet. Somebody out there,
Oh,
so it's a market for. I know, I know. Look,
that's gross.
if you all could just see Miranda's faces, look. No, when you, I really, and I'm gonna let the question go on. I just need, want to put this out there. I never knew that there was a feet finder or whatever that was like real. That was new to me.
I
I
think
did
I learned
find.
about that in the hair salon. I
Oh,
was
you
like,
did?
You
fine.
learned about it in a hair salon?
The topic came up of, I, did you ever hear about how they talk in the hair salon? You know, oh, people love to just pay you to look at their toes or something. I was like, wow, really?
I would say it has, social media has allowed people to explore maybe virtually more so than in person. I really don't know, so I'm a little bit out of my depth here. However, I didn't even recognize that, like, when I was looking up stuff, it's like, oh, someone was like, yes. So if you see me on Insta and then you click on it, then it takes you to my
Mm-hmm.
this page or takes you to that page, my OnlyFans, so then you can sign up and you can really get paid. I think it opens up a whole different genre for people in another way and methodology of getting paid, and perhaps maybe for a different type of sexual work without the actual intercourse.
I agree. I think it gives that the ability to put distance between the person and the buyer, which takes away that it makes it a little bit more safe if you're not giving out your address online or anything like that. The con is that it also puts distance between law enforcement and
Mm,
the actual bad actors out there. So I think that's the social media impact. Gives you more variation, but it also creates a distance where bad actors can do a little bit more behind the scenes and go undetected a little bit easier.
From a technology standpoint, I personally believe it's just another avenue. Back in it will, I think it can limit the corner work, if that makes sense to anybody. Like, a lot of people didn't have the technology back from biblical days to up till the early 2000s to actually run things online. So a lot of people, if you watch these documentaries, have been getting caught because of their brothels and their stuff that they've been doing illegally. But people still, keeping them books. So you just got technology just opened up a whole new world of access to things that were once either charged differently. Even like earlier, Miranda spoke about porn. Porn wasn't free always. Now you have easy access to things that you didn't have access to before. You got to watch who's viewing it. DMs make things different with social media. Now you can just, people that wasn't thinking about sex work might be thinking about it when the right person slide in their DMs.
That made me think of Snapchat. I haven't used Snapchat in years just because of how dangerous it can be regarding that. And I have some kids in our program who use Snapchat, whose parents let them use Snapchat. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, these poor babies. Who knows what they're going to get exposed to and what they're going to see. And it's horrifying to me because I'm just like, they're just so precious. They're so little. But their parents are letting them use those things. And oh, it's hard.
Regulate it. Watch it, especially among little kids.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they don't have more, like Stacey is saying, regulations or ways where if it's kids, that some of those things should be naturally blocked. I didn't recognize that's not happening.
Well, Snapchat is something where you can send pictures, send things, and then it goes away. Like it erases itself. Yeah. And that's something where I think technically, I believe you have to be a certain age, and I'm pretty sure it's like a high teenager to be able to use it. However, I work with middle schoolers, and we have middle schoolers whose parents let them use Snapchat. So it's like something where, unfortunately, the age limit is being voided or overridden by the parents, unfortunately, because I don't think necessarily all parents even understand, because just not knowing. I have a lot of families from different countries. They're like first generation and things, like the children are first generation, so there's definitely language barriers and things like that, and they just don't know.
I guess it makes it a little bit more, the fact that it gets erased, it also probably makes people more bolder.
Oh yes,
I guess that
unfortunately.
Wow, it's really sad.
Yeah. Again, I have not used it since probably when I was a sophomore in undergrad. It's been years since I have used Snapchat. But with that super heavy topic, that was a lot. And there's still so much to talk about, and there's still so much work to do regarding that, especially when it comes to minors, because I care so much about minors. They're my priority. So with all of that, especially since I'm someone who really looks after people and wants to make sure that everyone is taken care of, how are ways that communities and individuals can better support sex workers, regardless of whether the bill's passed or not? And even we can bring the sex work into things like people who are doing pornography or OnlyFans or anything like that. How can we better support them?
By making sure we have open dialogue. We need to stop being judgy. And we're not having these dialogues enough. And we are extremely judgy as just people, because this is a topic that crosses people's morality boundaries. And because it crosses morality, then people are really less willing to really dive into the topic. So how do we support it? By decriminalizing just even the topic itself. And let's take a step back and really listen, and also let people make it's something, because Stacey was saying it earlier, choices. People are allowed to make choices. And again, I stress, we are not talking about sex trafficking, you all. We are not talking about people who maybe they were born into the business, and because unfortunately there are people who are born into the business because their parents was in it and that's what they grew up with. And so I think that those are different type of topics that really still need to be discussed, and we need to hone in. But when we're talking about people who are dancing on a pole, when we're talking about people who are selling sex, consensual sex and things like that. We need to be able to have these open dialogues, discussion. We need to break down the stigma and stop being so judgmental as well when we do that. That's one way.
Definitely agree. I would just add, if you know someone, support them the best way that you can. And to Miranda's point, don't judge. We should spend a lot of time on the why are you doing this? It could be a situation that you could potentially get them the right resources to get out of doing it. Or if it is a choice, then just support them. Hey, if you have a friend that's a worker, call them at night, make sure they made it home. It's just being that support feature for them as well too. And safety, education on safety. So if you're going to do it online, let me educate you on how to be safe online.
I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for you all on this panel because as much as I'm God's favorite, he knew I'm also one of his funniest children. So my brain automatically was like, and I'm not trying to make this situation is not a light one whatsoever, but I need for those who are listening and watching to understand who I am. And you should know by this point, if you've been watching some of our other videos, take $20. Go talk to a sex worker. You ain't got to go. You want to support them? Tell them I just need 5 minutes of your time and go evangelize. No, sir, on a serious note, I love Miranda's reaction to my ignorance. I'm sorry. I'm just being a funny one to let you breathe for a second. But seriously, when you're supporting these individuals, I have to put on top of everything that they just said to those who can pray. We need these people are still in need of prayer to that their lives get better. Not that they would just come up and you'd be judgmental. Take the beam out your own eye. Take the plank out your own eyes. You got your own things that you're dealing with that you do wrong, that you do that other people don't like. Pray for them if you can, if you know how to. Find somebody to pray for them, include it in a prayer line, a prayer list. This is the only means that they have to do it. And stop being so judgmental of people in their circumstances. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know why they're doing this. You need to be better and stop judging them. Look, don't just automatically call the cops on somebody because you don't want it on your corner. Like, you don't know why it is happening if they're being forced to do it. You don't know if they just got dragged from overseas, even though we're not talking about sex trafficking. It's one of the ways that it happens. So stop being so judgmental of people and love people and be an open ear. Send them in the right direction to these therapy groups that can cater to their needs and the things that they need. And just go along those lines. Be better.
Oh, and before you wrap it up, I would love to add on to what God's favorite was saying as far as therapy and things of that nature. Listen, I believe that some people are choosing to do this not because it's their only means, it's just because that's what they're choosing to do. Now, and I know that there is big debates because some people are going to say anybody that sells their body, that in itself is saying something is wrong with them. I don't know if I necessarily subscribe to that theory. However, still, maybe we can open up mechanisms. We talk about getting them out of the work. How about they just go to therapy to work on whatever? So if that was more accessible to sex workers, just plain old therapy so that they can work out their own, however that may look for them. And they still may end up continuing to do sex work, but they can still be in a better mental state. And that's something that may be missing.
I definitely agree with that. I think therapy should be more accessible for everybody, everywhere. Something that God's favorite and Miss Sparkle Joy Coach made me think of is asking questions, like talking to them and asking questions, being curious, trying to learn, getting rid of the bigotry or the ignorance in our own heads around sex work and things like that. I was raised in a church. I still practice Christianity. And through all of my time, never have I experienced a church doing anything for sex workers. Yikes. I know that. I have never, we all, yes, they talk about, oh, we have to demolish Planned Parenthood, no abortions, no this, no that. But what, there's no talk around how can we better sex workers. We talk about the homeless. We talk about all of these other things, but sex work is too taboo. It's too scary. So something that I am actually now pledging myself is to raise more awareness on it and starting to get rid of that stigma, like throughout my friends and people that I know in my own circle.
That's good.
Yeah, very heavy topic. A lot of hard conversation. These bills certainly will raise many more important questions. Do you all have any final thoughts or anything you would want to share more regarding the legislation? I know the only thing I can think of is this is hard. It's hard.
Start talking about it. I guess that's what I would say. Continue the conversation. We all need to continue this conversation. It's important. And again, don't get so stuck in morality and non-morality, because once you start moving into, oh my gosh, it's a moral issue, it's such a bigger issue. And we all, our morals come in different shapes, different sizes, different thoughts, different everything. And if we can take that particular aspect out and just remember that these are people, period.
Period.
And then I do think that they should consider all parties involved in these bills, all parties that are impacted, not just because it's going to bring in revenue, or it, just think of everybody it impacts, basically. Do we even know if sex workers want to be regulated? I don't, do we
All
know?
of them don't.
Yeah, do we
When
know?
all of them don't.
Answer? Yeah. And the other thing is make sure it is solving the overall problem and not just a pretty sound bite.
That's good. Not just checking off the box.
Right.
I want people to make themselves more knowledgeable about what's going on in their legislation and in their community, because this topic was brought about. And just because you don't live in Massachusetts don't mean that you aren't experiencing these things in your neighborhoods, at your local motels, at your local hotels, at your local any places. You just don't know what's going on with people, and you should be knowledgeable about a little bit of something just to find out what's going on and how you can just be a better person and love people.
I love that. Thank you, Miranda, Orvin, and Stacy, for your valuable insight. Thank you so much for the conversation. I loved hearing what you all had to say. Again, this is a very complex issue, and it's clear that thoughtful legislation combined with supportive services is extremely crucial. To our listeners, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Follow us on social media. Join the conversation. Let us know what you think, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the Almost Anything Goes podcast to stay updated on our latest episodes. Until next time, stay curious. Please be curious and keep the conversation going.
Bye, guys.